This is a leveling build. It will get you through IAs and zone events and just general PvE. Let's look at his gear first. He is only 68 and is still got a great deal of 65 gear. He does have a couple of new rings and a new neck piece, but that's it. Everything else is 67 and 68. Even managed to get a cape in there. Have to work on some crafting. Now let's look at the points. 61 Tempest, 15 Reaver, 0 Paragon. The points spent in Reaver are Entropic Embrace for the non-physical damage increase, Shadow Strength for the strength increase, Plague Grip for the attack power and weapon damage. I have spent a point in Soul Feast to turn Soul Sickness into a hot. It helps. Otherwise, you could go straight 5 in Plague Grip. There's also another little heal here. Sometimes I can save your bacon. 0 in Tempest. This gives you Way of the River for the physical crit, 3%. So, for Masteries, we have Resonating Strikes. This is probably one of the most important ones. It reduces the ability cost during Wavelength. And Wavelength is your big burst. 62, I just went straight with the incoming healing. 63, you have a couple of choices. You can go with, I've chosen Runner's Training just because he seems to be a bit plodding. There is this sort of little energy reserves. This is a power-hungry build, but I found that this increase is not enough, not anymore. So just getting out of danger has served me better. Precision Strikes and Power Manipulation. Power Manipulation doesn't cost a lot, and it's built into it's managed by your macros. Power Variation has its benefits. It's a heal, of course, can also save your tank, and will add to your multi-target damage. The multi-target in this is sufficient. It's not superb by any stretch, but it gets you through without being too embarrassed. Legendaries. The first one, after a few different tries at this and retrofitting this spec to meet the new legendaries, Wavelength is your best first point spent. You get the most bang for your buck. So now it changes your buttons and your macros a little bit. I'll talk about that in the next bit. The next point I've found useful is Double Pulse. It comes in after your charge pulse. It also now triggers Skyfall automatically, so it is a huge benefit. It also ignores its global cooldown, and that'll become important when we talk about our Wavelength macro. Skyfall, with the trigger in the double pulse up here, that actually might be more beneficial. I had originally tried it as my first point and found it wasn't as useful as the Wavelength. So what you choose here will not change the rotation very much. I found that you go back into your lightning turret quite a bit more now that it's worth more. Now again, he is 68, so the next 2 points I'm going to be choosing, and these should not affect the rotation at all, is Ravaging Strike and Dire Corruption. They've already been built into the macros when I redid the changes. So now let's look at the macros. So you'll see the old original opener here. This is pretty old. I don't know. It's somewhere around 3.0. Things don't stay moving or standing long enough. People are geared now. Things just do not stick around. If you're going to, if you're doing a zone boss, you could go through the rotation. But Charge Pulse is a 2-second cast without any of the other things to proc it. So I've made a faster off the start macro, getting your shield up, getting power manipulation on, going straight into lightning turret, and then electricity cascade is a dot. It's also a finisher, but it's a dot, and then soul sickness, your next dot. That gets those up right away. Then you can go straight into wavelength. And wavelength, again, power manipulation. If it's not up on your next round for the rotation, there it is. Wavelength comes up. Double pulse or charge pulse is down to no cooldown, just the global. Double pulse no longer has a global cooldown. So now they can be stacked into one macro, which is lovely. Before you'd had to put them in another macro so that you could go between charge pulse and double pulse. Now they run in series. So single target builder is here. Pretty straightforward. It's fairly mobile. Most things will cast even while moving. And finisher, it's a lot shorter now. This used to be a very long macro, but now it gets up arc, hits Skyfall, and I've put in Ravaging Strike. It gives you a good sound because a lot of times you're not really paying attention to your Kalerts or you're running. So that it's a nice sound trigger. Plus, Ravaging Strike is about to become a legendary. And you can see here that will deal weapon damage plus an extra death damage hit. And then there's multi-target. So multi-target, fairly simple unless you throw power variation into it. Storm Shield, and then your Electricity Blast. With the finisher, I can find it, is Chain Pulse, and then I've thrown Dire Corruption afterwards. There is also Storm Torrent, and it has a wide field, so it can pull in a lot more than you can intend. So use your good judgment, wait until the tanks grab stuff. Make sure in an area that's isolated enough that you're not going to grab everything outside of the rift. That sort of thing. Buffs. We have Binding of Affliction from Reaver. And then from Tempest, we have Enhanced Conductivity, Electromagnetic Shield, your Empower, and Focus Fire. Those are all from Tempest. Way the River is from Paragon. Kalerts. There are not many, mostly just to track your dots, and when wavelength and power manipulation are available. Rotation. This is a raid boss dummy. This is as high as you seem to be able to get yet for your dimension. Your start, shield, power manipulation, Torrent, your finisher with the dot, and soul sickness, and then straight into wavelength. You can toss Dire Corruption into this, but be aware that it is multi-target. If you're running IAs, it probably doesn't matter unless you don't have a tank. And then off it goes. Finisher. And then back into Torrent. Get your dots back up. Fill in a little bit with your builder and finisher until wavelength comes back up, and off you go onto your rotation again. Simple enough. Now, multi-target. Storm Torrent. Again, it will pull loads of stuff, so be careful. Put your shield on and into your builder. Finisher. Dark Corruption. And repeat. Okay, very simple. You can move a lot. You will go down and up. In general, in an encounter, you don't tend to go down below 75. In general, it stays around 85, even though your live DPS may go up and down a little bit. It's nice because I was running Paragon quite a bit and trying to adapt it for Skyfall Prophecy, and it just wasn't scaling as nicely. And when things die so fast, it's nice of a range build with more POW, just so that you can keep up and at least hit something before they're down. Because like I said, IAs, things are dying real quick. People are getting into their dungeon gear now, and you need to keep up. And having something that's ranged will help do that. So this will keep you moving. Thank you for watching.